What's up, y'all? Welcome back, Pitchside with Parker, to another day of Euro 2021 group previews. Today, we're going team by team for Group E, which includes Spain, Poland, Sweden, and Slovakia. And as I've done in the rest of the videos, which you can check out by clicking the link above if you missed any of them, we're going to go through the squads, we're going to go through predicted lineups, we're going to go through their history at the Euros, any and everything you could want to know about these teams, I will go over. So if you want, you can skip to the timestamps that are listed on the video and click on the team that you're looking for, but I'd love if you stayed around for the whole thing. I would love to hear what you think. So go ahead and before we start the video, leave me a comment that says your predictions 1 through 4 for Group E. Who do you think finishes top? Who do you think finishes bottom? And who gets through to the knockouts? And of course, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn those post notifications on. I will have one more group preview coming out tomorrow, and then the Euros will be kicked off. But this is a great one-stop shop for any and all soccer content you could want. Click around my channel, and I'm sure you'll find something you like. And lastly, smash the like button before we even get into the video, because that's what we do on this channel. So we'll start off like we do every single group by checking out the map of the group. And as you can see from the widespread stars and flags here, this group makes zero sense geographically. Seville and St. Petersburg are thousands of miles away. 3 countries are kind of smack in the middle, and then Spain gets to play as the host with all the other countries traveling to them. Yes, that's right, Spain get 3 home games in this group on top of the crazy spread of travel for the teams. Spain get to stay at home for all of their games, and so that is a massive advantage for them, and it's really gonna suck for all the other 3 teams. And I think Spain and Netherlands are the only 2 teams that get that this year in the Euros. So with that in mind, let's go to the team-by-team previews, and we are gonna start with Spain. Spain is definitely the cream of the crop in Group E. They won't look anything like those back-to-back Euro-winning teams that did it on either side of a World Cup victory. But, you know, you could think of it almost as like the store brand version or the knockoff. They're still going to keep a ton of the ball and really just try to pass you to death. They've got a former Barca head coach in Luis Enrique. And I think that style, especially against their group stage opponents, who are all going to be teams that look to sit back, play in a low block, and counter, it should play to their strengths. So there were plenty of storylines about this Spain team heading into the tournament, and a lot of it has to do with selections. The most shocking thing was that there is not a single Real Madrid player in the Spanish team, which is the first time I think that's ever happened at a major tournament. Obviously, the Madridista is not very happy with that, but I think this is something that all Spanish fans, regardless of which club they support, are going to be disappointed in, because it means no Sergio Ramos. That was the surprise exclusion, the captain of La Roja, who's been around for all of those titles, been playing at the highest level for such a long time. He will be missing this tournament. And Luis Enrique said that it had to do with the fact that he's missed so much time to injury this season and he doesn't feel like he's up to form. But I gotta be honest, you still gotta take Sergio Ramos. Like, I don't care if he hasn't played in 3 years. As long as he's still in playing shape, he should be there. I mean, he's the best defender. He's been the captain for several years. He scores clutch goals. He might even be the best penalty taker on this team. It seemed to me like a bit of a power move by Luis Enrique to say, hey, I'm the head honcho. I'm not going to have a bunch of people running around following what Sergio Ramos does. This is my team. And beyond that, he decided to bring only 24 players, despite the fact that you were allowed to bring 26 in the squad this year. And again, it was kind of that consolidation effort by Enrique to bring a smaller squad and have it be more shaped in the way that he wants. Another huge note coming into the tournament is that Aymeric Laporte has switched nations from France into Spain, and so that will help cover the absence of Ramos at center back. I imagine they would probably pair him with Pau Torres, who's an up-and-coming star with Villarreal. In an attacking sense, I mean, they're going to have a lot of the type of players you would expect from Spain. Very technical, great passers. They got a million guys who could play number 10, and they're going to throw a bunch of them out on the field at the same time and kind of just see what happens. They're still rocking with Alvaro Morata up top, which does concern me a little bit because we kind of know his history. One player I am really excited about is Ferran Torres. He did very well for Spain throughout their qualifying run, and He's been kind of on that like Phil Foden track earlier on at Manchester City, where everybody kind of knew that Foden had a ton of talent, but Pep was really holding him back and giving him time to develop before really throwing him out there. Torres isn't quite as young as when Foden was doing that, but to me it feels like they're almost on that same path because he is a really, really quality player, but he hasn't had a ton of opportunities at club level. However, he's shown it with Spain already, and I think he will be one of the most important goal scorers in this team. They've also got options like Gerard Moreno off the bench, Oyarzabal. They brought Adama Traore, which could be an interesting change of pace. And because Enrique decided to bring a smaller squad, he said that all of those players that came with the squad are going to play important roles. So expect to see a lot of them off the bench. So even with this makeshift squad that Enrique has brought along for the tournament, I do think Spain should pretty easily win this group. They get all 3 games at home in Seville, and I think it will leave a scrap below them for who is going to finish second place. However, I would class them along the same lines as the Netherlands, as I talked about in Group C, where I think they'll have an easy run through the group stage, but it may make them look a little bit better than they actually are. When they play better teams in the knockouts that they aren't so easily able to possess the ball against, it could become a bit more of a struggle for Spain, and so I see them going out in the quarterfinals and Morata missing 3 sitters in the game. Next up, we'll talk about Poland, and Poland is part 1 of the toss-up for second place here in Group E. And it goes without being said, but Poland have the ultimate trump card in the reigning FIFA Player of the Year, Robert Lewandowski. I mean, Leva just broke Gerd Muller's Bundesliga goal scoring record of 41 goals in the league campaign, and he did it in 29 appearances. The dude missed 4 weeks, and he still broke a 40-year-old goal scoring record. The heights that he has reached over the past few years and the way that he has just been able to age and continue getting better has been magnificent. He's going to be the best player on the field in every single one of these group games, and there's always that chance for Poland that he brings out a little bit of that magic, and that's what they're going to need if they're going to qualify for the knockouts. They had a really nice record in qualifying, which again took place in 2019 via the Nations League, so take it with a grain of salt. The second place team in their group was Austria, and that was their main competition, so they didn't really have to beat a lot of people, but they did show that they could continuously produce results, and Lewandowski was top goal scorer in that qualifying cycle. I mean, I could definitely go on about Lewandowski for days, but I do also want to look at the supporting cast around him. This Polish team has 7 players from Serie A. They've got 4 from the Premier League, 3 from the Championship. And when you look at the spine of the team, which I talk about a lot in these videos, it's very, very important. Klich, Krychowiak, Bednarek, and Szczesny. To me, that is an elite group through the middle in terms of being able to set up a low block, defend your butt off, and contend with anything that an attack can throw at you. When they're able to set that up and be very sturdy behind Lewandowski, all they really need is to create 1 or 2 good chances. He polishes them off and they get the result. Like, Poland is not going to fool anybody. They're going to sit back, and every single time they get the ball, the goal is to get it to Leva as quickly as possible, get it to him in the box, give him any opportunity to make something happen, and more often than not, he will. The most important game to watch is going to be their matchup with Sweden. They will play on the final day in St. Petersburg, and the winner of that game will most likely finish second place in this group. But I will say, even if they were to beat Sweden in that game and qualify for the knockout rounds, I don't really expect Poland to make it out of the round of 16. I just think that their style leaves too little margin for error, and a better team would be able to capitalize. All right, it's finally time to talk about Sweden. Join me. Look, I'm incredibly biased, but honestly, I don't think that Sweden gets enough respect for the way that they've been able to rebuild their team in kind of this post-Zlatan era and still continue to have success while doing so. I mean, they're ranked 18th in the world. They finished second in their qualifying group behind Spain. And in that group, they were the only team that took any points off La Roja. So that's going to be incredible experience that they can lean on in this group stage. And I know I say this stat all the time. Like, if you actually watch my videos, you're going to hate that I say this again. But there's only 3 nations in the entire world that have made the quarterfinals of both the men's and the women's World Cup over the last cycle. 2 are England and France, and the 3rd is Sweden. This is a footballing powerhouse, and I will not hear any different. Anyway, People always want to know about Zlatan. He was prepared to make a comeback for this Euro. He wanted to swoop in and save the day and paint himself as the savior of this Swedish team and bring them back to the promised land during the Euros. But he is going to be out with injury, so he will not be available. And as I covered in my preview video, I actually think this is a good thing for Sweden. I mean, I love Zlatan as a player. He was somebody that I always loved watching as a kid because he was the best player for Sweden. But I do think that this team is better without them, and they showed that in the 2018 World Cup. So to me, it's really not that big of a story. Looking at the squad, there's a good mix of old and new, but in general, Sweden is one of the older teams in the tournament. Their best players are definitely Emil Forsberg and Victor Lindelof. Forsberg plays for Leipzig in Germany, and Lindelof plays for Manchester United. The old guard of this team consists of Sebastian Larsson, Robin Olsen in goal, Augustinsson, the left back, Berg up top. These are all players that have been around for a long time, and in the case of players like Augustinsson and Berg, they were some of the better players at the World Cup in 2018 for Sweden, and they're still going to have key roles here. But what's really exciting about this Swedish team, and the reason that I have a lot of hope and a lot of faith in their performance coming up in the Euros, is that they've got some young attacking talent that is bound to cause some damage. The biggest name is Alexander Isak. He plays for Real Sociedad, scored 17 goals in the league for them this season. He's 6'3", he's super fast, he can dribble well, he can shoot it with both feet, and just all around, he's a massive threat. And whether you're sitting back and you need him to hold it up and run the channels, or whether you're actually dominating the game, you're in possession, and you need to kind of pass around the back line, he can do all of those different things as a striker. And then out wide, as I've put in this formation, you've got Dejan Kulusevski, who signed for Juventus, and he's been on a tear for them. He scored and assisted in their Coppa Italia win, so he is on form heading into the Euros. And he's another player that I'm really excited about to see his debut at a major tournament for Sweden. He's just 21 years old, but he plays beyond his years, and physically he's very mature. He's kind of got that Arjen Robben about his game where he plays on the right. He's always going to try to get on his left foot, but even though it's coming, you can't always stop it. So I think those two will score a lot of goals for Sweden in this tournament. And between Forsberg and the experienced back line, I think that Sweden will be very competitive in this group. So the verdict on the Swedes, I called it in my general preview. I said that Sweden should be a dark horse for this tournament, and I still believe that. People seem to think 2018 was a fluke. I'm telling you, it was not. This team is building, it's getting better, and I think the likes of Isak and Kulusevski are really going to have breakout tournaments. Again, as I said with Poland, this is all going to come down to that Sweden versus Poland game on the last day. I'm not banking on Sweden to beat Spain or finish first or anything, but if Sweden can just handle that game, and I think they will finish second in this group. And rounding it all up in Group E, we have Slovakia. Slovakia is a team that made some noise in Euro 2016, but coming into 2021, they have the second worst odds out of any team in the 24-team field. You'll probably recognize a handful of players in this Slovakian squad. It is one of the older squads in the tournament, which has its pros and its cons. There is a good amount of experience in this team, both internationally and domestically, but it's definitely not going to be one for the future. Milan Skriniar and Martin Dubravka are probably the two best players. Skriniar is a center back for the title-winning Inter Milan team, and Dubravka is the goalkeeper for Newcastle, who a couple seasons ago was one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. Those players are very good, but it lends them to a very defensive style when they have to kind of build around those main building blocks. Of course, the other player is Marek Hamsik. Everybody knows him, the crazy hair. I didn't even realize this, but I was reading that he's #1 all-time in appearances for Napoli, and he's second in goal scoring, ahead of none other than Maradona and behind Dries Mertens. So he's had a great career. He had some really sick moments in Euro 2016 as well, but he's a bit washed up these days. He played in China for a couple of years. He's actually currently playing in Sweden. He's just not going to be that world-class, world-beating player that we once knew, but he still will be around, and he will be the axis of their attacking unit. Lobotka is a player that kind of took over for him as the Slovakian representative at Napoli, and so he will be a decent midfielder for them. And also keep an eye on Duda, who plays at Cologne, and Benes, who He used to play for Gladbach, but he's been on loan at Augsburg. Those are a couple of Bundesliga players that, might add a little bit to this team as well. The big difference with this Slovakian team is that unlike some of the other long shots and bottom feeders who advance through the playoffs, this team does not have a go-to striker, and that will make a huge difference. The starter I listed, Bolstered, he's 21 years old, and he plays at Feyenoord, where he has scored a grand total of 3, count them, 1, 2, 3 goals in 2 seasons with Feyenoord. So not exactly the most reliable guy up top. So the verdict is that this will be a very tough team to break down. I mean, especially for the likes of Sweden and Poland, and even for a Spain team that can stagnate a little bit in possession. Slovakia will sit back. They have good defenders. They have a good goalkeeper. But in the end, it's going to be a real challenge for them to score goals. And I just don't see them being able to score enough to get any results in this group. Given that it's a very aging squad, this may be their last chance at an international tournament for a while. So I hope they enjoy it. And worst case scenario, they at least get a free trip to Seville. So that's going to be all for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And if you did, be sure to leave that thumbs up. And subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Group of Death will be coming tomorrow. But until then, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.